Guys, FinallyHeSleeps here. It's back to the S10 project. Took a break from it just to get my fall season finished up, but it's time to undertake the next step, replacing the fuel pump. Put together a video about replacing the distributor cap because that's a common cause of issue. You get moisture in the distributor cap. And as I was building the video for the distributor cap, was showing how you narrow it down to the distributor cap, and like the second step is making sure that it's not the fuel pump. And at that stage basically said, oh shit, it's the fuel pump, not the distributor cap. All right, so actually putting the fuel pump in, there's a few ways you can do it. You can put the truck up on a lift and drop the gas tank down, which is a lot of work to remove the gas tank to get the fuel pump in, because the fuel pump goes in top of the gas tank and the gas tank is sandwiched up against the bed. The other way is to remove the bed. It sounds kind of like a big deal to take the whole bed off the truck, but it's not that difficult. It's just one ground, 3 bolts inside of the, or 3 little nuts inside of the sleeve for the gas door, and 8 bolts holding the bed to the frame. That's it. That's all that holds this thing on. The problem comes into the bolts being rusted on the bed, and so you got to kind of go about it in a way to make sure you don't break any of the bolts off, which is really the most difficult part of this. First step, we're going to remove the tailgate. I'll talk about that here in a second. As you can see, the tailgate's already off the truck. All right, so the next step, just to make life easier, is going to be removing the tailgate. Now, it's actually really simple. You lean the tailgate back, and if you see here, the way this is notched, this one is shaped flat, and this side is round. On the tailgate, there is a notch. So you basically flip the tailgate back and then just lift it off. And then the straps just clip in. So you can pull the tailgate off of one of these trucks in a matter of a minute by yourself. Next thing is the nuts inside of the gas door. There are 2 right here, these little screws, and then there's 1 up top. You're gonna remove those, that way the sleeve no longer connects to the downpipe on the gas to go into the tank. All right, inside the frame rail, there are 2 grounds there. One of them is to the taillights. The other is actually all the way back to the fuel pump. So before you go worrying about replacing the fuel pump, make sure the ground isn't bad first. But you're gonna have to take both of those grounds off so that there's no wiring in the way. And it's just that 1 nut right there. The next step are the frame bolts. You're gonna have 4 on each side, and there's basically 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. They're pretty easy to see underneath of where they connect to the frame, and it's the same on each side. I'll show you where they're exactly located though. All right, now we're underneath the truck, and you look, there are holes in the frame rail, and up through those holes, if you can see it there, see it? That's where it's at, and it connects to the bed. Now there's 1 there. There's 1 through here. Same thing, up where it connects to the bed. Okay, here we are up near the cab. We have 2 more. There is 1 right there, and 1 right there, if you can see it. That's where the other, and that is literally right behind the tire, right behind the tire. Those 4 on each side make up the 8 that you have to remove to pull the bed. So 8 screws, 3 little nuts inside the gas door, and 2 grounds is all that's holding it onto your bed. Now with these bolts that are holding the bed on, we don't want to break anything. So you're going to want to use some kind of a penetrating catalyst. I use PB Blaster for pretty much everything on these old vehicles. What you're going to do is you're going to spray it on the bolts and then tap the bolts a little bit to let it start working its way in. The other thing you can do is take an impact and basically get your socket on that's going to work with it, and then back and forth with the impact, and it will break it a little bit. You don't want to go all in one direction or just try to loosen it. You're going to go left a little bit, right a little bit, left a little bit, right a little bit, after you spray the PB blaster in, and then let it sit for a couple of hours, and then repeat it a few times depending on how rusted the nuts are, how rusted the bolts are, how rusted the truck is, how fearful you are of breaking something off. The more you do that and just work the PB blaster in behind the nuts and the screws up into where they connect to the bed, the better off you're gonna have chance of getting this bed off without having any major problems with busted off bolt heads. So patience and time are your friends here if your truck is a POS and 24 years old like we're doing for this cheap build. All right, so here's my setup. 15 millimeter nut on an extension into the impact so that I can get up through the hole onto the nut. We're gonna spray everything down with PB blaster. And just saturate everything that we can. Back and forth. And just try to get it worked in, and then let it sit for a couple hours, and repeat that for all 8 of the nuts. All right, so the bed is now off. Here are where the 8 bolts are. It's like right here, here's a spot, and here's a spot on this side. And once you get those 4 off on both sides, it takes 4 people, just lift it off. And what we did is we put it on cinder blocks on the frame rail, so it's just sitting here. So next step, we're gonna start with the fuel pump. All right, so we got it all cleaned up here, and these 2 just disconnect, and then you're gonna squeeze these to pop it out of the back, and take all 3 of these off, and they just squeeze and pop off. This one, you press this down and it unclips, and then this one in the middle has like a squeeze tab that you're gonna pop to take off, and that's it. And then you disconnect it. Then there's this compression ring that we're gonna pop. We'll grab these 2, bring them together, and it'll pop out. Just make sure you have it all clean so you don't want stuff to drop down into it when we go ahead and pull the old fuel pump out. All right, so we got the new one in. We get the O-ring, the clip ring snapped back into place. And these just go back in. Just make sure you take a picture of it beforehand so that you know what order they go in. This pump actually has a different connection here than the factory connection. So it comes with a wiring harness and instructions on how to cut this one off and wire the new harness in. So we'll do that and then put it together. And then it's just a matter of putting the bed back on and buttoning it up, checking the ground, and make sure the whole truck starts up.